The first body surfaced after the third night of rain. It came up where the stormwater spills into the river, snagged on rebar like it had been placed there on purpose. By the time I got the call, half the footpath was taped off and the river had already swallowed most of the evidence. What was left didn't look like drowning. The torso was intact. The legs were gone at the hip, sheared cleanly, not torn. The edges weren't ragged the way water does it. They were compressed, flattened, as if something heavy had closed around them and squeezed until the joints failed. No bite marks, no tool marks, just pressure. I work for drainage and flood control, not police, not rescue. We're the ones who go down after the water recedes to check for blockages, structural failure, debris that could back up the system next time it rains. We're not supposed to deal with bodies. But bodies keep ending up where the city empties, itself. The outlet tunnel where they found him was one of ours, a concrete throat 6 meters wide, running under 3 suburbs before dumping into the river. During storms, it fills completely. Afterward, it drains back down to a shallow, fast-moving sheet of water along the channel floor. I stood at the mouth of it with my boots on wet concrete, staring into the dark. The smell hit first. Not rot, not sewage, something animal, warm and coppery beneath the damp stone stink. "Anything?" the detective asked. I shook my head. If something got him in there, it didn't leave a trace that water didn't erase. That was a lie. I just didn't know how to explain what I was feeling. The channel walls were scraped, not deeply, not gouged, just smoothed. Long, shallow arcs where something had passed again and again, polishing the concrete with repeated contact. Too wide for human shoulders, too deliberate for debris. I didn't say that either. They pulled the body. The river took the blood. By morning, the city decided it was a tragic storm fatality and moved on. We didn't, because the next rain came 2 nights later. And after that one, 2 more bodies surfaced, both missing legs, one missing an arm. Same compression damage, same clean failures at the joints, different locations, all connected to the same stormwater system. That's when my supervisor told me to take a team underground. There are flood channels beneath the city that don't appear on public maps. Old overflow routes, emergency cuts, redundant pathways built during different decades and never fully decommissioned. Some of them are big enough to drive a truck through. Some of them are barely wide enough to crawl. They all connect eventually. We entered through a maintenance hatch in an industrial estate after the water levels dropped enough to make it safe. Safe in flood control terms means you're unlikely to be swept away. It doesn't mean much else. Our headlamps cut white cones through the dark as we descended into the channel. The air was cool and damp, echoing with distant drips and the low, constant murmur of water moving somewhere deeper in the system. We followed protocol, 2 up front, 2 in the rear. Radios checked every 10 minutes, markers chalked on the walls at intervals so we could track movement and depth. At first, it looked like every other inspection. Debris piles, branches, plastic, trash, caught on grates, silt deposits along the channel floor, minor cracks in the concrete, logged for later patching. Then we reached the first junction. The water was wrong. It should have been flowing downhill toward the river. Instead, it pooled in a shallow basin, barely moving, as if something downstream was holding it back. "Blockage?" one of the guys asked. I knelt and dipped my glove into the water. It was warm, not sun-warmed, body warm. I pulled my hand out quickly. The radio crackled. "That "Show on your sensors?" my supervisor asked from topside. "Negative," I said. "Temp anomaly, maybe. We're checking." We moved forward. The chalk marks started disappearing, not washed away, scraped off, at shoulder height. That's when we found the bones. They weren't scattered. They were stacked. Femurs, tibias, humeri, cleaned, stripped, arranged into low piles against the channel wall, like someone had tried to keep them out of the way. No skulls, no spines, just limbs. I felt my stomach drop. "Jesus," someone whispered. I raised a hand, signaling for quiet. The channel ahead narrowed slightly, forcing the water into a faster, deeper flow. The walls there were darker, slick with something more viscous than water. My headlamp beam caught a shape embedded in the concrete. At first, I thought it was rebar. Then it twitched. It was a tooth. Not human. Too long. Too flat. Pressed sideways into a hairline crack in the wall like it had been forced. There, during a bite that didn't quite land. I backed away slowly. "Mark it," I whispered. Before anyone could respond, the water moved, not rippled, shifted. The surface drew down suddenly, like something beneath it had opened a valve. The temperature dropped instantly, my breath fogged. Then the sound came, not a roar, not a splash, a low, wet friction sound, like something enormous sliding against concrete. Close, too close. "Back," I hissed, "now!" We didn't run. Running in flood channels gets you killed. We retreated fast and controlled, light sweeping the water, the walls, the ceiling. That's when it crossed the channel. It didn't surface fully. It didn't need to. A mass rose beneath the water, displacing it violently, forcing a wave against the far wall. I saw skin, gray-brown, scarred, ridged with old damage, and limbs. Too many. They weren't arms or legs in the way animals have them. They were load-bearing appendages, thick, jointed, ending in blunt, hardened pads rather than claws, for gripping concrete, for bracing, for crushing. One of the guys screamed. The thing moved, fast. The water exploded upward as it surged forward, a wall of mass and pressure. One of our rear team went down instantly, slammed into the channel wall hard enough that I heard Bone fail. He didn't even have time to shout. The creature closed around his lower half. Not bit. Closed. Like a vice. There was a wet crack, and his legs folded the wrong way, then vanished into the water. We ran. Protocol shattered. Radios screamed with overlapping voices. Someone fell. Someone else dragged them back up. The channel filled with thrashing water and echoes that turned our own panic into something monstrous. I glanced back once. I wish I hadn't. The creature hauled itself partially out of the water, bracing against the channel walls with those massive limbs. Its body was long and low, armored in thick, overlapping plates, scarred by decades of impact. Its head was wrong, wide and flattened, more like a shovel than a skull, with a mouth that opened vertically instead of sideways. Inside it, rows of flat, interlocking teeth. Not for tearing, but for grinding, for crushing, for processing. It didn't chase us like an animal. It advanced like machinery, relentless, efficient, certain. We barely made it out. The hatch slammed shut behind us, and the rain started again almost immediately, as if the city itself was trying to erase what we'd seen. They quarantined the site, declared it unsafe due to structural instability. The story in the papers was a sinkhole collapse, a tragic industrial accident, 3 dead, 1 missing. The bodies they recovered matched the others. Compression damage, missing limbs, no mention of bones stacked neatly underground. no mention of teeth in the walls. That night, I went home and tried to sleep. I dreamed of water rising, of concrete breathing, of something patient, waiting for the rain. The rains kept coming, and the bodies followed. Different outlets, different neighborhoods, same damage. Always after heavy storms, always near flood channels. The city started closing river paths, issued safety advisories, told people to stay clear of stormwater infrastructure. It didn't help. The thing adapted. We realized that during dry periods, it stayed deep, down in the primary channels where the water never fully receded. Old construction maps showed voids large enough to house it. During storms, the system fed it. Water rose, pressure increased, the creature moved, and when the water drained, it followed the current toward the exits. That's where it hunted. We tried to stop it, pumped toxins into the channels, shocked the water, dropped concrete barriers into key junctions. Nothing worked. The barriers were crushed and repositioned. The toxins diluted or avoided. The shocks barely slowed it. It wasn't just surviving down there. It belonged there. The flood channels weren't its home. They were its arteries. We learned its pattern by losing more people. It avoided loud machinery, but returned once the noise stopped. It ignored smaller prey, dogs, wildlife, unless they were trapped. It targeted humans, specifically adults, specifically those who entered its space during storms, like it had learned the shape of us. The turning point came when the rain stopped. A dry spell settled over the city. Reservoirs dropped. The channels drained down to their lowest operational levels. We thought it would starve. Instead, it moved. Residents in a low-lying suburb reported vibrations beneath their homes, cracks appearing in basements, drains backing up with warm water that smelled wrong. Then the ground collapsed. A sinkhole opened beneath a row of houses, exposing a massive void beneath the street. And in that void, the nest. Bones weren't stacked there. They were embedded, pressed into the walls, into the floor, into the creature itself. It had been growing, using the pressure of the channels to compress remains into structural mass, reinforcing itself with what it took. We stood at the edge of the sinkhole in the morning light, staring down at something that should not have existed beneath a modern city. The creature lay coiled in the exposed chamber, half submerged in stagnant water, its body impossibly long, its limbs braced against concrete and soil. It didn't flee, it didn't attack. It waited, because the forecast showed rain in 48 hours. And when the rain came, the city would fill its channels again, and the thing beneath us would rise with the water, not to hunt, but to expand. Because there were flood channels beneath neighboring cities too. And now that it had learned the pattern, it wouldn't stay contained.